Hey everyone, it is Monday, January 6th, 2025, our first meeting of the new year. Um, let's kick this party off. Brian, you want to give us an update on the latest release?
Yeah, sure. Quickly after the 3.1 release, just before the holidays, we cut a patch release 3.1.1 that resolved a weird bug in the denial adapter that's used to implement configuration inheritance in spin dependencies. Um, so yeah, there's a new release.
Sounds good, thanks. Any questions on release stuff? Okay. Um, Next minor release will be 3.2, so we need to start collecting like maybe things that we want to be working on for that. If anybody has any uh, things that we should be doing, let's go ahead and call those out. Does anybody have any issues that they want to call out specifically right now? And as a housekeeping note, are we doing minor milestone planning on, sorry, minor version planning on milestones or through GitHub project boards? Does anybody remember? I know we do major version planning on projects. Is anyone opposed to throwing issues on a milestone for minor releases? Okay. Cool. Yeah, as a housekeeping item, also I have some housekeeping things in general. It's the new year. We could like talk about how we plan. Um, but I know we're coming off the back of a major version release, and that was a lot. Then we had a conference, then we had holiday season and stuff. But it'd be really nice to kind of take a second this week and next week to kind of think about how do we want to triage. We aren't really keeping up with the triage schedule. It's mostly my fault because I had the app and it's really outdated now. Um, but we could talk about triaging, we talk about milestone planning and things like that. For this next minor version, I think we should just create a milestone and add issues to that. But if anybody wants to do things differently, feel free to feel free to talk about that. I've created a milestone, so if anybody wants to add issues to that or call out issues that should be on that, please feel free to add or message in Discord. Anybody have anything specific they want to talk about? Any PRs or issues? Okay. Um, we'll circle back if you think of something. Um, our Sandbox application is to be reviewed next week, and the WASM working group is going to come up with an assessment. There it has been some initial discussion, and there is some confusion around proprietary APIs and things like that. Obviously, nothing about Spin is proprietary. It's all open source and under permissible licenses. But there is some confusing messaging in that document. If anybody wants to review as either a Spin maintainer or as a community member, feel free to do that and comment on the document. I'll throw a link into the notes so that folks have a link to that. Kate, do you want to add anything to that?
Only other thing I would add is that the CNCF has a WebAssembly working group that does a lot of great collaboration, and we might discuss some of Spin there and recommendation there. And that meeting is tomorrow at 8 a.m. Pacific time. And the link to it is on CNCF calendar, which I believe is, I don't know the exact URL, but I know if you Google CNCF calendar, it'll come up very quickly.
Just pasted a link to the working group communication page. So you have all that information. So yeah, if you care about WASM and CNCF and about spin and CNCF, definitely show up to that meeting. Okay, cool. Anybody else have thoughts around what they want to talk about? And this makes a lot of sense because for some of us, this is our first day back from the holiday. So that's totally fine. Um, but do y'all mind if we just talk about housekeeping stuff and how we want to organize? Okay, cool. Um, in terms of triaging, like I don't think that we've been doing that, or at least I haven't been doing my rotation schedule if somebody's been scheduling. So, do we want to go back to the rotation that we had for triage? Do we feel like that was a good way to do things? Did we see any like issues with that?
What do you perceive as the current triage load, Michelle?
What do you mean load?
Well, my perception is we're getting a lot fewer issues per week than we were in kind of the, I guess, the late one point, the late 0.x and early 1.x. Maybe I'm misremembering because I've not kind of gone back and looked. Obviously, the holiday has been very, very quiet, but I'm not sure that there's. Uh, I think we should check whether we feel there's value to having a triage rotation because I have a feeling that the rate of incoming stuff is fairly slow at the moment. Sorry, go ahead, Joel.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, I've been kind of more of a regular participant at the WASM time meetings that happen every 2 weeks. And what they've been doing, and this is kind of a new thing for them, but it seems to be working well, is part of their meeting is devoted to issue triage. And we kind of just all do it together. We have basically a query that basically shows us any new issues that don't have comments on them since the last time we met, and we kind of go through, and it's very quick. It's not like we spend a lot of time talking about each issue. We literally are triaging. We're saying, okay, hey, can so and so look at this, or let's tag so and that sort of thing. So it seems like given that, yeah, the rate of issues is low, and assuming you don't get too bogged down on any one of those issues, perhaps we could make that part of this meeting.
Yeah, I personally think that would be really fruitful, and nice. Because when you're doing it on your own, I feel like it takes a lot longer per issue, but doing it in a group, it's a lot easier. And just for context for everybody, I think when we had the triage rotation, the process was supposed to be we have two people triaging together or on their own. They kind of go through the new issues, add it to the triage project board as like, triage needed. And then they would label the issues correctly so that we could, uh, categorize them. And then there's a process where either you close it or you answer the question, comment, or do the bug fix or whatever it is. The other category that a lot of issues ended up in was the investigating or open for comment column. And so the issue would be kind of in that bucket. And then a lot of times it kind of remained in that bucket. But sometimes when we kind of came to a resolution on what needed to be done for that issue, if anything, then that issue would move into a backlog column. And then that would be ready to pick up. And I think the idea or the ideal process in that world used to be that, we would take these backlog items and add them to milestones or like major minor version releases and have that kind of feedback into our release process or development process. And I think that is something we haven't really been doing a lot of yet. Not to say that we need to do any of that, but that's kind of where we were. And some of the issues that I personally saw with that was a lot of the issues were stuck in kind of the investigating or comment, open for comment bit. And then they didn't really get fed back into the planning part of our milestones. So you know, that it's not a perfect process, and I don't expect us to like close out every issue in like, 7 days or whatever. But I don't know if we want some sort of a feedback or some sort of a process that kind of feeds back into milestone or release planning. Although I do think, for the near term and then that tactical way of like issue triaging that Joel you mentioned would be a great thing to do starting next week. Kind of get us on a roll, and then we can figure out these things later.
Yeah, I think what has been particularly helpful in the WASM time context is having a variety of perspectives in the meeting, because when it's just one or two people kind of on the rotation in a given week, they don't necessarily have the context that in which any given issue is meaningful. And so having other people to kind of just chime in, oh yeah, like a person submits an issue, oh yeah, I chatted with them on, Discord or whatever, and here's a little bit more context, and then we can kind of see, oh yeah, this is why this is such an issue for so and so, and this is why it should be in the next release, or this is why there's a workaround, and so it's not that urgent, and so maybe it should not be in the next release, whatever.
Sounds good to me. Any objections to trying to do that next week? Okay. Ivan gave me a thumbs up, so let's do it. And everybody else smiled, so okay, cool. Sounds good. Thanks. Thanks for that suggestion, Joel. I don't have anything else for today. All right. See y'all next time.